If you're seriously considering a reverse mortgage, there's a step you'll go through before any lender can process your application, and most people have no idea what it actually involves. It's called Hecm counseling, and it's actually required by federal law. A lot of people hear required counseling and assume it's just a box to check. It's actually one of the most useful parts of the entire process. A one-on-one session with an independent expert whose only job is to make sure that you have the full picture before you make any decision. Today, we're walking through exactly what happens in that session, what you should bring, what gets covered, and how the whole thing is designed to protect you. Before we get into the counseling session itself, let's just make sure we're starting from the same place. A reverse mortgage is a loan available to homeowners 62 and older that lets you access to equity in your home without making monthly mortgage payments. Your loan balance grows over time as interest and fees are added, and the loan is repaid when you move out, sell, or you pass away. The most common type of reverse mortgage is called a Hecm, Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. This is a federally insured version backed by the Federal Housing Administration, which is part of HUD, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. When most people talk about reverse mortgages, this is the product they're talking about, and everything in this video applies to Hecms specifically. Before any borrower can obtain a Hecm, federal law requires a completed one-on-one counseling session with a HUD certified counselor. This comes directly from the National Housing Act, not a lender policy, not a suggestion. A reverse mortgage has long-term implications for your home, your equity, your heirs, and potentially your eligibility for certain public benefits. The law requires that every borrower have an informed, independent conversation about all of that before signing anything. One thing worth knowing upfront, attending a group information session about reverse mortgages does not satisfy this requirement. The counseling has to be one-on-one. Group sessions can be a useful starting point, but they cannot substitute for an individual session. Your Hecm counselor has no connection to your lender. They are prohibited by federal guidelines from recommending, promoting, or representing any specific lender or loan product. The agency they work for is required to disclose any relationships it has with lending institutions in writing before the session starts. Lenders are also prohibited from steering you towards any specific counselor or counseling agency. The choice of who you work with is yours alone. To be on the HUD Hecm counselor roster, a counselor has to pass a standardized Hecm exam administered by HUD, complete ongoing Hecm related training every 2 years, and pass the exam again every 3 years. HUD can remove counselors from the roster for promoting a specific lender, providing misrepresentations, or failing to cover required information with clients. The independence is structural and enforced. It's not just a stated policy. The session can be conducted in person, by phone, or virtually. If you have a disability-related need for a specific format, agencies are required to make reasonable accommodations. If English isn't your primary language, agencies are required to provide interpretation services. And a note on fees here. Agencies are permitted to charge for Hecm counseling, but the fee must be reasonable, customary, and cannot create a financial hardship for you. Before you sit down with your counselor, the agency is required to send you an information packet at least 1 day before the session. That packet includes the agency's disclosure form and fee schedule, a preparation guide called Preparing for Your Counseling Session, loan comparison printouts relevant to your situation, a total annual loan cost calculation called a TALC, which shows the true long-term cost of the loan, a reverse mortgage amortization schedule showing how the loan balance grows over time, and the HUD designated reverse mortgage booklet. If you've already received quotes or documents from a lender, bring those to the session as well, because your counselor can help you compare them. The counselor is required to cover 4 main areas with every client. The first is alternatives. Before walking through anything about reverse mortgages, the counselor reviews other options available to you based on your short and long-term needs. Other loan products, downsizing, assistance programs, or any other ways to address your financial situation. The second is reverse mortgage basics. The counselor walks you through how a reverse mortgage actually works, including the fact that it's a loan that must be repaid, how the balance actually grows and equity decreases over time, when and how repayment is triggered, your ongoing obligations, especially around property taxes and homeowners insurance, what happens with a non-borrowing spouse, mortgage insurance premiums and fees, non-recourse limits, meaning you and your heirs can never owe more than the home is actually worth, how remaining equity affects you and your heirs, what factors determine how much you can actually borrow, how the loan impacts title to your home, and then the potential impact on public benefits like Medicaid. The third is the financial picture. Using HUD designated calculation software that's independent of any lender's tools, the counselor walks through the numbers specific to your situation. Cash advances and upfront cost, your individual amortization schedule, future projections comparing total cash received, cash remaining, and then the total cost over time, how different loan options or payment plans compare side by side. So if you're weighing quotes from multiple lenders, the counselor can help you compare them, but they're prohibited from recommending which lender to choose. The fourth is fraud prevention and elder abuse. This section is required by HUD and covers things many borrowers don't think to ask about: how mortgage fraud works and how to recognize it, why anyone asking you to route your loan proceeds in an unusual way is a red flag, warnings against signing over funds to third parties involved in the transaction, how to recognize predatory lending, and how to recognize and report potential elder abuse. The more prepared you are, the more useful the session will be. The HUD Handbook instructs counselors to ask clients to come ready to discuss their financial needs and goals, their spouse or their partner's future housing and financial needs, the circumstances that led them to consider a reverse mortgage, and the alternatives that they've already looked into. A few things worth having on hand: any loan quotes or documents you've already received from lenders, a recent mortgage statement if you still have a balance on your home, your most recent property tax bill, information about your homeowner's insurance, any documents related to public benefits that you're currently receiving, since the counselor will review how a reverse mortgage might actually affect them. When the session is complete, your counselor issues a certificate of Hecm Counseling, Form HUD 92902. Your lender needs this certificate before they can process your application. Without it, the loan cannot move forward. The certificate confirms you attended and participated in the required counseling. It doesn't mean the counselor recommends the loan or recommends against it. It is a confirmation of the process, not an endorsement of any particular decision. After the session, your counselor is required to follow up with you to check whether you move forward with the loan, explored one of the other options you discussed, or need additional help. You'll also retain ongoing access to your counselor and the resources they connected you with. Emergency counseling also exists for borrowers who are in imminent danger of losing their home or who need loan proceeds urgently for medical care and can't wait for a scheduled appointment. So if you're in that situation, you don't have to wait. Hecm counseling is required, but it's also one of the most genuinely useful steps in the entire process. You get an independent expert who reviews your full situation, walks through the numbers, covers alternatives, and makes sure you understand your obligations before you're under any pressure to decide. So if you're at the stage where you want to understand what a reverse mortgage might actually look like for your situation, use the link below to book a call with my team. These conversations are most useful before you're deep in the process because they help you know what questions to ask and what to look for before you ever sit down with the lender. And if you want clear explanations of how reverse mortgage actually work, from the application process to your long-term obligations, make sure to hit that subscribe button. My goal is to help you make informed decisions with confidence and ultimately win with Wade. We'll see you on the next one.